What's up, guys? Welcome back to the poker vlog. This is episode number 64, and this is the first episode that I put out of the 2018 World Series of Poker. This video is of the $1,500 Millionaire Maker. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Haven't really been too focused on the YouTube side of things. Mainly I've been putting out updates on my Instagram account, so check out that. It's @Brad001, and I'll give you kind of day by day updates on everything that's going on. But yeah, I did video this event, and I videoed the marathon event. I made day 3 of that, went pretty deep, so that's going to be awesome to put out. Not really sure if I'm going to video the main event that's coming up in a couple days, just because videoing's pretty distracting. That's a huge event for me, and I just want to focus kind of all my energy on playing. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy this one. Let's go ahead and get into it. June 9th, playing my third event of the series. Bubbled the Colossus, then got busted out in the first level of the 1500 Big Blind Ante. So it's Millionaire Maker Day, playing the first flight of this. Time to eat this bagel pizza and run good. We take our seat in the tournament. The table is a mix of pros and rec players. We start out with 7,500. It's not a whole lot of chips. Blinds are 2,550. Our goal is to hopefully build a big stack early, because then tournaments become a lot easier and we can put much more pressure on our opponents. 20 minutes into it, we pick up pocket kings in the small blind. The cutoff, who appears to be a young pro, opens to 125. I put in the 3-bet to 425. He flats. We're heads up, and the flop comes Jack 6 Deuce Rainbow. It's a pretty good flop. Shouldn't have any 2-pair combinations in his range, and he didn't 4-bet his pre-flop, so the only way he should have us beat is if he flopped one of the sets. I down-bet to 400, hoping to get calls from maybe pocket queens, a jack, a middling pocket pair, or maybe even some ace-high hands. The cutoff calls. The turn is another 6. This reduces the amount of set combinations we might be up against. This time I fire a bigger bet of 1100. The player calls again. Still feels like we might be up against a top pair type of hand, or possibly we're getting called light by a non-believer. The river is another 6. Shouldn't be many 6s in the player's range. In my mind, the only thing that I could be up against that beats me is pocket jacks. Try to make it look like I'm bluffing, and I bet 3K. To my surprise, the opponent rips it in for 2,500 more. I call.
I know before the cards are even turned over.
He's got it. He turns over pocket aces, so he has me notched and played it extremely tricky. Worked out well. Sure, I could have played the hand differently to maybe not stack off here, but I'm trying to build a big stack, and ultimately this is just a cooler situation. I have the opponent covered by 150. A few hands later, I get it in with Jack 10 offsuit versus Queen 8. The board doesn't improve us, and just like that, we're done. I break a personal record for quickest exit out of a WSOP event. It's not a record you want to break. Played for 24 minutes. Might have been the first one out of the whole tournament. Ran into pocket aces, pocket kings. He played it tricky. Weren't too many hands that beat me. Got it all in. And that's the end of that. Time to go play some cash at Bellagio. Session's over. We got into 3 really interesting hands. They were all-ins in all of them. The first one that we're going to go over, I have King 6 of spades in the cutoff. Not really a hand you should be playing that often, but there were some certain special circumstances, so I wanted to play it. The under the gun player limps in, player to my right, and the hijack limps in. He's been limping in a lot of really bad hands. Could have raised to ISO, but with the under the gun limper, I was kind of concerned. Instead, I elected to see a cheap flop because I thought maybe the under the gun player could have a big hand like aces. The big blind ends up raising to 50. Player under the gun calls, and the player to my right, who is definitely a rec player, makes the call as well. I want to get involved with him, and I'm in position, I'm closing the action, so I call. The flop comes 10-7-4 rainbow with 1 spade, so I've got an overcard, backdoor flush draw, and backdoor straight draw. The big blind leads out for 130, folds to me. Kind of an interesting flop. I mean, when you limp call with king 6 of spades, you're gonna find yourself in some interesting situations. I didn't limp call just to fold that easily, especially when I'm in position. I've seen the big blind continue on pretty much all the flops that he raised pre-flop, and I've seen him bet fold several times as well. So I think about going for the raise, but I realize that all the hands I'd be representing, like pocket 7s and pocket 4s, don't really make a ton of sense because I wouldn't raise on the flop with any of those anyway. I would just call and wait to raise on the turn. So that's what I ended up doing. I just flat, thinking that, you know, I could turn my hand into a bluff if I wanted to, but there are also, you know, plenty of cards that would help me out. So anyway, the turn is the queen of spades, which is a great card because now I pick up the flush draw, and the big blind bets 230. Stack sizes are kind of interesting. I go ahead and just rip it in there. Fortunately, it gets through. The big blind folds, so we pick up that one, and we're off to the next hand. A few orbits later, I pick up ace-7 of hearts in the small blind. The player who I bluffed in the last hand limps in from under the gun. The button calls, and he's the rec player that I wanted to get involved with. I raised a 50 to ISO because the button tended to limp call pretty often, so I was hoping it would get heads up. That's what ends up happening. The player under the gun folds and the button calls. The flop comes king 3 deuce with 2 hearts. Good flop for us. We've got an overcard, flush draw, and backdoor straight draw. I bet 50, and the button ships it on us. He started the hand with he raised to 150. I ship it. The button started the hand with about 600, so it wasn't too much more. I was hoping that he might fold some 1-pair hands. I could be ahead if he has a flush draw, and you know, I should have plenty of outs even if we are behind, but he ends up snap calling. He's got king 3 offsuit, so he just flops top 2 pair. Turn is not good. The river is 4 of hearts, so we make the ace high flush. We win it and stack the opponent. A few hands later, I pick up pocket jacks in the cutoff. The hijack is a transfer player, and he has to post. I raise to 40. The small blind calls, the big blind calls, and the hijack folds. So we go 3 ways to the flop. The flop comes jack 9-8 rainbow, so we flop top set, and we're in position. Really, really good situation for us. Small blind checks, big blind checks. I bet 70. The small blind just flats. The big blind lets his hand go, so we're heads up now, and the turn is the 4 of diamonds. So there's 2 diamonds out there. Small blind checks. I bet 190. Now the small blind raises to 530, which is really interesting. Stack sizes, once again, are pretty strange. I don't really want to flat in this situation. I mean, I could definitely be up against queen 10, but it'd be kind of strange for him to play queen 10 that way, since it'd just be a little bit risky to not raise on the flop, since there's a ton of bad turn cards for him. So I think it's more likely that I'm up against some kind of combo draw. I mean, I could be up against queen 10 or pocket 9s, pocket 8s. 10-7 seems really, really unlikely. So just with all the possible hands he could have, there's just a huge chance I'm ahead, and if he happens to have the straight already, I could possibly, you know, I'll have about 10 outs. So I rip it in there, since there's potentially a ton of bad river cards for me if I do have him beat at this point. He snap calls, he does have queen 10, and let's see what happens.
What's up?
Nice time, man.
Oh my lord.
You have me covered, or?
What's it?
River's no help. We do not pair the board. We do not boat up. We lose a huge pot of over 4,000. Pretty rough day. Not too much I could do in that situation, I don't think. Totally fine with how I played the hand. Unfortunately, things just didn't work out. I add on for 1400 more, play a few more orbits, but nothing really of any significance happens. End up calling it quits. I rack up, head out, booking almost a $1,500 loss. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, even though I got smoked. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section. This was the worst day of the World Series so far for me. I bricked the $1,500 tournament right away, which kind of sucks. It's not fun to get knocked out right away, but you know, not that many people cash. So in some ways, it's better to get knocked out in the beginning rather than spending your whole day playing an event and then bubbling it. But then I got crushed in cash games too. I started out doing well, but then just lost that huge hand for over 4,000. So that wasn't fun. But in terms of how the series is going overall, it's actually going pretty well. There's been some World Series in the past where I've just gotten smoked. I've just played a ton of tournaments and bricked everything, and then also got wrecked in cash games. This summer, I went deep in the marathon event. I'm going to have 3 videos coming out soon documenting that experience, but you're going to have to be a little bit patient with me because I've got the main event coming up. Also, cash games have actually been really good so far this month. This session was the worst losing session I've had all month, and I only lost like $1,500 or something, so not really that bad. One huge announcement I want to make is that Andrew and I are having a big party. It's going to be a World Series of Poker wrap-up party at the Westgate here in Las Vegas. It's going to be in the nicest suite that they have. It's about 15,000 square feet or something like that. It's going to be awesome. So that's going to take place July 10th from 8 p.m. to midnight. If you're interested in coming, all the info for how to purchase tickets is at andrewnemi.com. But basically, you just call the special number at the Westgate and you give them a promo code. It's $20. That'll include 2 drinks when you get there. Andrew and I aren't making any money on it. The $20 just goes towards the room and the Westgate staff that they're providing. So hope to see you guys there. Hope you're all doing well. Good luck at the tables. Good luck at the series, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.